kind of like the music of that.
It's not bad.
Hey, everybody. It is once again Monday evening, your favorite night of the week. You've already made it. You made it through work day, right? On Monday, you've done,
the day is over.
You've done 1/5 of the work. So, now it's time to relax. Maybe lay back, get an iced tea. Maybe an Arnold Palmer, if you will.
Now, here's the important thing.
Yes.
The writers, from a message we saw on Facebook, will not be joining us tonight.
We're going to have open spots.
Yes.
This is exciting.
Happy birthday to Stacy's
night.
mom.
Stacy's mom?
It's her birthday.
I know.
Stacy's mom has got it going on.
Stacy's mom. All right.
Yeah.
So she's not here. So if you've never joined us before, we're going to have so much open opportunity here, right? This would be a great night to join if you've always been like curious, like, well, I wonder if I have anything to say. And especially these movies tonight. These are the movies you want to talk about. I
go on and on and on about these movies.
You would think, but again, maybe not. I don't know. We'll find out. But you could join us. It's so easy. Close your browser, head over to EriDanLive.com to talk movies. This is episode 143, by the way.
I always say close your browser. You mean close what you're watching us on? Because they have to open the browser to be able to go to EriDanLive.com.
Yeah, but you got to close you got to close this tab, whatever they're watching us on.
Right. Close this, because if not, it gets weird.
This is what I'm saying. So
okay, Paul Reiser.
This is what
yeah.
So, but it's so easy. It's so easy to join. If not, you can always join us in the comments. Throw out some notes. If you're watching this on the replay, head over to Facebook. Facebook / EriDan show, I think, or something. And you will find us, and you can then make some comments there. Maybe. We
have hundreds of views every week, believe it or not.
I know.
Well, the channel's just not live. We just don't get them all live.
That's all right. You don't have to be live, right? So, this lives on forever. And it, like these movies.
These are old movies.
These are very old movies. And so I am anxious to hear what people think about these movies in 2023. Because does the magic survive?
Yes. And the movies, of course, are
Star Wars, A New Hope, and Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. So two of the biggest franchises from my childhood. Indeed. So well, let's bring in some peeps. And we can start taking these movies apart. We'll get to the operating room and we'll dissect some movies, shall we?
All right.
One ring to rule the moon. One ring to fight.
It's Brittany.
Brittany's here.
Hello, I am here.
I'm sure this is the first time you've seen these movies, and I have a feeling.
Yeah, absolutely.
A novice, an introduction to the Star Wars universe, maybe.
I actually almost wore my A New Hope shirt from the film when we saw it last year at the Philharmonic with like the like the notes.
Yeah, I should have gotten some shirts or something. I could have brought some.
I wore my EriDan one instead. So.
Well, I appreciate that. We appreciate the merch.
Yes, lots of new merch, by the way, on the It's a Lot channel. But we'll talk about that later.
There's stuff's coming. Absolutely. All right, let's keep this party train going.
I'm sorry, Dave. This conversation can serve no purpose anymore.
Dave is here, dark helmet.
Yeah. When did we do Spaceballs? How long ago was that?
Spaceballs was a little while ago. We did Spaceballs, I think, within the first 100 movies, and it took us this long.
Took us.
Yeah, this is our 180th movie, by the way.
Yeah, the Schwartz be with you.
Absolutely. See,
yogurt. You heard me.
Anything be wrong to bring out?
I did make when the ship crashed, when the Trip with a Droid crashed into the desert. I did say, are they going to comb the desert for them?
At least they didn't jam their radar.
That was the worst joke.
Speaking of radar.
All right, didn't realize I have a lightsaber within reach if I need to.
I thought you were going to say, speaking of Raiders.
Oh, wow. But I thought we were going in chronological order.
of years. Yeah, okay, we can do that.
Well, either way, yeah, depending on how you look at it. But our double feature of George Lucas, John Williams, and Harrison Ford, and probably somebody else. There's got to be a fourth individual who was dragged through these two movies. So shall we jump in?
We shall.
All right, Star Wars. Here it is. Finally, 180 movies later. Star Wars: A New Hope, 1977. Come on, you know who it is. It's Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, Carrie Fisher, Peter Cushing, Alec Guinness, and James Earl Jones, among others. George Lucas, making his splash in the world with $11 million and coming out with $775 million. Critics at a 93, audience at a 96. Lots of love there for the Star Wars. I had wondered when I went to look up the numbers whether those would still be high.
I wonder what that would be like with inflation, like nowadays.
I mean, I could Google the current results and see. I believe it would be a metric ton.
It would be insane. Yeah,
we're gonna include the merchandising rights. I'm sure it's done just fine.
Well, I don't know if you remember the Lucas.
Speaking of merchandising rights,
very particular when the first Star Wars came out. He kept really tight rein on it. So there was, by today's standards, there was very little merchandising, and it wasn't because he didn't want to merchandise, but he was incredibly picky and quality conscious. He didn't want it on cereal boxes, and he wanted to be very particular so that it didn't cheapen the franchise. Right. And he had the power to do that even then.
Speaking of cheapening the franchise. Amanda's here.
Hello. I love cheapening franchises.
So glad you could join us. So I'm gonna. Is this anybody's first time? I can't imagine. Well, I will say it has been a considerable amount of time since I have sat and purposefully watched A New Hope with no distractions.
I will not call it A New Hope, by the way. It's Star Wars. That's what it was.
It is Star Wars. I agree. But just for those at home keeping track.
Well, and it's confusing to just say I like Star Wars, and then you don't know if you're talking about that film or the whole franchise. Like,
I understand, but
in particular, episode 4, 1977's Star Wars. And I did try to watch the least specialized version that I could find.
I watched Tammy's despecialized edition.
Yes, which is available on the dark side of the internet.
I watched it on Disney Plus, so I unfortunately had the remastered everything.
So you got to see Han Solo walk on Jabba the Hutt's tail. Yeah. One of my least favorite scenes.
I have a question, and I'm not sure if anyone has the answer. Or I'm sure you have the answer. And this, I might sound like an idiot for asking this. In the theatrical release, does it say Chapter 4?
No,
not originally. No.
Okay, so the very original theatrical release, it just starts the story.
Yeah.
To his credit, to be fair, Lucas did have outlines of the first 3 stories. This was the 4th story in his arc, but he made this one because he thought it was the most commercial.
I thought the arc was in the next movie. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Let's not get our arcs confused.
So that's the arc reactor from Iron Man.
I'm so confused. Wow.
No, I think Lucas is this film hit so hard. I mean, it really did. It just hit the scene and just was exploded. And then followed up with 2 very good sequels. And then Lucas started getting in his own way and just started. He couldn't stop renaming and rewriting and reworking. And
now there are rumors that he might have done that to avoid having to give as much money to his ex-wife.
It's
a weird decision, but you never know.
No, because I know the whole Han shot first controversy. He is still adamant. No, he was never intended to shoot first. Never, and yet the shooting scripts clearly say Han shoots alien. I mean, it's not like there's any ambiguity.
Yeah. he softened up over time.
He started to
Like, it seems a little violent now.
Well, you're seeing the charred remains of his aunt and uncle lying in the desert where a little
yeah, there's moments. I mean, this movie led into the funny thing is about this movie now is that it's like I feel like it's going to New York City for the first time, where it's like, first time I went to New York City, I was blown away by like everywhere you look is something iconic, right? It's like, oh, there's Queens, there's Long Island, there's the Empire State Building, there's the just everything is right there. You watch this movie and like every line, every story, every part of this movie has become a trope or a t-shirt or an action figure, or it's like, oh my gosh, it's like,
although some of them for the wrong reasons, like misusing the word parsecs, but still.
Wow, yeah, there's that.
Didn't they correct that somehow?
Again, Lucas tries to retroactively claim it wasn't a mistake, but it was just a mistake. I mean, it's no big deal.
There's no they don't mention midi-chlorians in here at all. So I mean, clearly that was
thank goodness.
I mean, this is a long time ago. The language has just changed since then.
And it is cool. There are no words written. There's nothing printed on anything in this entire film. There's no language
except for the screen at the beginning when the crawl goes by.
Oh yeah, the credits. I'm just talking about the actual film.
You mean there's no English words?
There's no exit
there's
sign
nothing written on cans or signs or
no product placement? Is that what you're saying? There's no product placement? The whole movie is product placement now.
Like there was in Blade Runner with the weird Coke cans. And I mean, to me, the best things, I mean, obviously the story is very well told. The casting was well done, although both Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill were still, they weren't as good actors as they eventually became. They were still sort of growing in, but they were good because you needed young, sort of green-looking actors to fill those roles. They did well. Harrison Ford was great.
Yeah,
I loved the special effects. It's especially, I mean, John Dykstra, who was the special effects coordinator, he had done so many, and he learned from Doug Trumbull, who did 2001: A Space Odyssey. That was sort of his mentor. And so the fact that you think about it these days, you don't even think every one of those ship shots, every space shot would have been computer generated. And every single one of those was models and slow frame by frame photography on gimbals and
that's
just
incredible
detail work on those models.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't know if they'd even do that kind of work now, even if they wanted to, right? Because it is
the ray gun effects with the red blips and green blips going across the screen did look a little cheesy. And very
with them just trying to shoot out all the auto turrets and after they went down there, and it was just chaos flying across the screen, just close-ups of them shooting each one until you're like, I guess they're all gone.
The fact that the turret is doing the back and forth thing like it was a real machine gun or something was kind of weird.
Come on, Obi-Wan refers to the stormtrooper blasts as being precise. It's the only time that we get to hear stormtrooper.
They couldn't hit the side of a barn.
I know, right? And I also, one of my favorite scenes of all time is the knock on this door. Oh, it's locked. All right, let's move on. Like, oh, clearly it must be nothing behind there if it's locked.
I will say, and I guess I'll mention some of this now instead of in the next movie. The one thing, and I realize there are 4 years between the movies, but still, one thing I definitely came out of it thinking, and I sort of knew this going in, but I feel it even stronger now watching them back to back, is whatever you think about their other filmmaking abilities, Spielberg is a much better director than Lucas is.
Oh, I agree with that. I do agree with that. Yeah.
His framing of shots, his use of light and shadow, his storytelling in general on screen, not in the script, is just much stronger than Lucas is, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say that, but you have to give it to Lucas as far as world building, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Lucas is great at that.
Yeah.
As I'm watching this the whole time, I'm like, this is just like a remake of Harry Potter.
Oh my goodness!
Wow, there's your shirt.
I text some, I think it was Brittany and some of my other friends. I was like, Darth Vader is Snape. I was having a lot of fun with it.
You're not wrong.
In Star Wars, where I was like, this is where the Gryffindor colors go up, you know, when they're getting the medals at the end of Star Wars.
Oh, and then of course, speaking of the medals, the big controversy that Chewbacca does not get a medal at the end. He kind of gets stiffed at the end.
Never got a dinner.
Only the humans.
Have you seen the footage of Chewbacca speaking English?
No.
Because the actor actually said the lines that Chewbacca was they were gonna dub it in later, so that Harrison Ford could respond.
I did see that clip. Where
the color of the ribbon for those medals would have just blended right into Chewbacca's fur. You'd have never even seen it.
Just been a floating medal.
They're an anti-Chewbaccist.
Okay, but I just put a TikTok in the chat, and it feels very applicable. Just so you know.
Oh yeah, that's the one we played.
Oh yes,
We played that last week.
We watched that.
See, I wasn't here.
It's a guy reacting to that guy.
Oh, I thought it was the original guy, but that's funny.
Yes, it is funny. The similarities between the storylines are hilarious.
Yeah.
But what's really crazy is that this guy.
What guy? Oh gosh.
That's the guy reacting.
Good.
Direct ripoff of Star Wars. I am positive of it. Have you ever looked at them side by side? Oh, what do we have here? It's a young male orphaned protagonist who, for his own safety, has been sent to live with his aunt and uncle until a mysterious spirit stranger, who's actually the one to deliver him to his aunt and uncle when he was a baby, comes into his life and starts to teach him about this ancient kind of magic. Granted, he's going to learn more about this magic from an older, wiser wizard who's high most of the time.
His eyes.
Regardless,
Marty
his uncle
Feldman.
is totally against this magic stuff.
He's
he
got
won't even
Marty
tell him what
Feldman.
really happened to his parents. But against his uncle's wishes, he leaves home for the very first time, makes some new friends, meets a pretty, impetuous young girl. And though there will be an odd sexual tension between the two of them throughout, he will only ever love her like a sister while she struggles with the feelings that she has for his best friend, the scruffy comic relief.
That's great.
And mind you, though, the thing that this gets wrong is it's not like Star Wars was the first to do that either. I mean,
Exactly.
it derives from earlier material. So.
True.
And Luke famously goes to Jedi school to learn how to become a Jedi, right?
Yes, for 7 years.
Yeah, it's a really great Jedi time. With all the other Jedis that are around, like all the wizards.
And instead of brooms, you have spaceships. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same. And they play spaceship Quidditch. It's terrible.
Yes, they play these weird spaceship games where you have to catch the ball.
Yeah, you have to shoot the snitch, and then you get.
Well, no, that's what putting the shot down the chute
Oh,
was.
because it's a hard shot, yeah, and then
It's the size of a wampa.
every
They just
game of
forgot to
space
put bludgers
Quidditch.
out at the entrance there.
Yeah, every game of space Quidditch requires a Death Star to destroy, so it's a very expensive game to
I would
play.
totally
They only
buy.
played it
I
for
would,
5 years 'cause they have to
I
build a
would
new
totally
Death Star.
buy a game called Space Quidditch.
No, you know what it would be called, don't you? Spaceball.
Personally, I always wanted a land speeder. I mean, this was to me like this
Those
was
were cool.
the
It seems pretty
most
cool.
iconic. I love the Millennium Falcon. Don't get me wrong, but kind of impractical here on Earth. But I'm thinking a land speeder. Why isn't Elon working on that? Is what I want to know. If he's, where's my land speeder, Elon?
You'd get tickets though, man. It'd be expensive.
It would be expensive, but then
Road
you could let the roads go. Then you think of all the money you'd save on infrastructure. Just saying. This is my presidential run.
We don't care about
And you would
potholes.
win.
Just float over them.
EriDan in 24. This is what I'm going for.
All right, Adam's
Take all the infrastructure money and oh no,
Adam's in the ER. I hope everything's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm touched by your dedication.
I'm
Who's
seriously.
Seriously.
You
Just
wanna
having
look at
surgery.
the record.
Say that and then not say anything else,
If
Adam.
only
Like-
it had been musicals. No, I'm sorry. Oh no,
I hope
Adam,
all is
Adam,
well, Adam. Hope it's
yes,
just
we
minor
wish
blip.
you the best.
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah, that's not good.
No, that's not fun.
No, typically it's not good.
Yeah,
It is
usually not
interesting, though,
fun.
'cause
Oh.
this is a movie
Leg
that
infection.
Oh my.
yeesh. This is a movie that there are certain movies and books. I know if you ever watch Stephen Colbert, he talks about how reading Lord of the Rings changed his life. How that, for whatever reason, that book hit him at exactly the right thing at exactly the right time. That it has been an important part of his life ever since. And there are people that are that way about this movie, Star Wars. That just the time it came out, the type of movie it was, the type of story it told, and who was in it. It just spoke to them in a way that no other movie ever had, or in some ways ever would again.
Yeah,
I'm not one of them. I loved it, but I didn't make my life better or worse, but I did love it.
Yeah, I mean, for many years, I mean, this is the center of nerddom, right? For a lot of people. And yeah, so I mean, I was 7 when it came out. The first time I saw it was at the drive-through.
Drive-in?
That would be wrong. It was a 2-minute version. No, it was at the drive-in.
Up the drive-through for 2 hours.
With
Eric, that was a Happy Meal. That wasn't the movie.
The original Journey to the Center of the Earth. It was playing with, I believe. And I don't know if that's actually the correct title, but nonetheless, it was a double feature. This was the first one. Really hard to see because they always start the drive-in before it's actually dark enough. So the first, so I distinctly remember the first 20 minutes being like, I can't see what's going on.
And now that's how you are at the movies as well, because you're old.
I'm just like, what's going on? Who's that guy?
Yeah.
What's going to happen now? That's
all
me.
right. So here's the weird memory I have, and I know it's wrong, but it's in my head. It's very real. Is the kids in my neighborhood? We're all going to the movie theater at BG's or GB's, whatever it's called, Monaca.
Probably not the BG's.
Not the GB's.
Yes,
GB's.
But there were 2 cinemas. There was the Cineplex at GB's, and there was the one. Well, there's the one at Beaver Valley Mall. Was the big one? That's where I went to see it.
Yeah, so maybe it was at the mall, but we could see Grease or this, and I'm like, they weren't both out at the same time.
Ooh.
Like Grease came out a year later.
Yeah, there was.
So there must have been something else that was playing.
They kept bringing Star Wars back. They
did, but I'm sure I saw
back.
Star Wars in its first iteration because I just remember all my neighbors like, you have to see it, and we did go. But there was some reason I chose Grease over that, and that's why I like the first day of school. It's because of Grease.
Wow. Wow. After you,
and that's why you like all your teenagers to be in their 30s.
Hey, do we need promotion of our channel? Viewers, followers, chats, chat box? Price is lower than any competitor.
We're getting spam. We must be doing okay.
Doge
look at that.
Our competitor.
Dogehype.com. That's an awful name. Man.
Wow. That's awesome.
Wow.
That's amazing. We'll head over there after the show.
Yeah.
It'll be fantastic.
So what are the iconic moments and lines from this? I mean, obviously, these are not the droids you're looking for. That's a huge one.
Right.
Well, the one that everybody makes a mistake.
Obviously.
Luke, I am your father. He doesn't say that.
Yeah, you don't get that one.
That's Star
one of
Trek.
the
That's
movies.
Return of the
not
Jedi
the
anyway.
Yeah.
Help me, Obi-Wan
I mean-
Kenobi. You are my only hope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Then like let's blow this thing and go home. That
Yeah.
could be a mistake, and probably didn't quote it right. But
I have a really bad feeling about this when Eric put up there.
Yep. I have a bad feeling about this. There's at least 3 or 4 times in this movie.
And I've seen that in other movies too now.
This is true.
They've
That's
reused
the
that.
moon. That's the moon.
have you seen that in other movies?
No. I just say it every night before bed.
Oh yes, may the force be with you. Obviously,
Yes, obviously, right?
Adam. Yep.
And also with you.
Yeah. Well, I always think.
What are we doing? Communion now?
I
will say because this is about the same length as Indiana Jones. I think it was like 5 minutes longer. And I'll get into it more when we get to Indiana Jones. But I enjoyed both of them. I thought the pacing was much better for me in Star Wars. I thought it was much better about interesting things happening all the time. We didn't stay on one thing for too long, but it didn't feel rushed. I thought Indiana Jones had like a half-hour car chase scene that was a bit excessive. Like I feel like this had a much better pacing of like combat, and then like
we're going to talk about that car chase in a little bit.
Yeah, it was more shot, but it was really long.
I'm kind of like opposite of that. I thought the pacing was better in Indiana Jones.
I'm with
That's
Brian.
For the most part, I liked Indiana Jones, but we reached a point where I was like, how long has this fight scene been going on? Like, it just, at some point, I very much lost interest in the car chase just because it followed directly from, like, the previous fight scene. We'll get to that later.
Yeah. Part of it is because Indiana Jones is an homage to old, like, 30s serials and movies like Gunga Din, which I've had on this show, and Casablanca, and
Casablanca for sure.
King Solomon's Mines, and those movies that I love. So it's an homage to movies I have a great fondness for. So that gives me a built-in, of course I love science fiction too. I was a complete nerd growing up.
What's amazing is the films of 1977.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you've got Star Wars, obviously. Do you know the second highest grossing film of 1977?
Also Star Wars. No, I'm kidding. It was that popular.
Does anybody want to guess? Even the top 5?
I don't even remember what movies came out in 77.
I wouldn't.
Number 2, Smokey and the Bandit.
That makes sense.
Number 3,
that was
Close
huge.
Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah.
Number 4, Saturday Night Fever. Number 5, The Goodbye Girl.
Let's see. Have I seen all of those?
And then A Bridge Too Far, The Deep, The Spy Who Loved Me, Oh God, and Annie Hall.
Oh, man.
That was 19. What a heck of a year.
I haven't seen The Deep. I haven't seen A Bridge Too Far, but I've seen all their others, I think. Yeah.
The number 1 movie of 78 the following year, Grease.
Grease is amazing.
Animal House, Every Which Way But Loose, and Heaven Can Wait.
Wow.
Yeah, Grease wasn't.
I ended up seeing.
I love it. That was my
Grease
favorite
was so
movie.
badly acted in so many ways.
Yeah, but Grease is the word.
35-year-old high school students and
Grease is the word. Have you heard?
Grease
Now,
is
one of the things I will say that I think I believe that they got right from the get-go on this movie is that it jumps you right into the action, right?
Yes.
Indiana Jones does start with a bit of a mystery and intrigue before they get to the action, but this is like, boom, you're mid-story already trying to catch up to find out what's going on, right? You've got to follow.
Which is why they had to have a crawl.
Well, true.
It's only mid action if you ignore the 5-minute crawl at the beginning.
I was 7. I didn't read the crawl. But I equate this a lot to, like this is something that, when I introduced my oldest son to Cars, the Disney movie Cars, it was his favorite movie, particularly because it just jumps right to the action. You are immediately thrust into an exciting period. And I feel like the one thing about this movie is that it grabs you right from the beginning, and is like, boom, here we go. Ships firing, all sorts of action. Here's the bad guy, right? There's no like, it's all like, whoa, I'm here, I'm ready, I'm watching. And I imagine as a young buck, for me, that was an amazing way to grab my attention and just make it that it's all I wanted to watch, and I had tons of toys, right? So many action figures, so many ships, Legos, the amount of stuff you can buy from Star Wars. We talked a little bit about merch versus Star Wars and Star Trek. And at the end of the day, you can get some Enterprise uniforms, but there is nothing like the cosplay from Star Wars.
I own 0 Star Wars merch unless you count the movie program, which I did buy in the theater.
You have no toys. You have no toys. There's no
toys. One toy from Star Wars, and I had a bunch from Star Trek.
Well, I know what you're getting for your birthday.
I'm trying to think if I bought any Star Wars, anything.
I have it wasn't mine. I've replaced it, but because something happened. Something happened to my Star Wars stuff. But nonetheless, I do have the 1977 Millennium Falcon, which is one of my all-time favorites.
And they have brought out some amazing Lego sets.
Oh yes. Yeah, those are cool.
And they keep amping those up where it's like, oh, you thought 7,000? 7,000 was a lot for the Millennium Falcon last time. Now it's 15,000 pieces to build the Millennium Falcon. Yeah.
20,000 piece Death Star. Yeah, I mean, it's
very reasonable.
That's intense.
And even though I joked about the crawl, that's another thing that became iconic after this movie. That crawl was spoofed in every which way or imitated in other movies.
Are there a lot of movies that I can't think of any other major movies that did it like not as a joke though, or what other movies have done something like that? That
was sort of a throwback too, because I mean there used to be movies that would start with a what's about to happen. They would have opening cards or a scroll, but the parallax
Yeah. I
view
just
was
Yes.
going on. That was
it's definitely become iconic, but I don't really think it's been imitated much. Like it's very much a Star
No.
Wars thing, and all the
it's
Star Wars
because
movies
it's so
do.
Now,
iconic.
you couldn't
can't
do it
without
without
looking like
being
you're clearly imitating
acknowledging.
things.
You could have it like going left to right. You could like spiraling.
So one of the coolest nerd things I've seen on the internet is somebody who has a Star Wars basement, and on the ceiling sloping down to the basement they have the crawl.
Oh,
on
that's
the,
cool.
I'm like, that's
That's a
actually
cool
pretty
idea.
clever.
I've seen that.
But I'm pretty sure that's why the crawl exists, is because he was telling the fourth story of a longer saga, and that was sort of the way to get into it without either making the movie a 3-hour movie or spending, because even some of the things that were skipped for budgetary reasons. I mean, the 11 million he obviously made back in spades, and he made good use of it because the movie looks good, but there were things he had to cut, which is part of the problem, was because he then felt the need to go back later and try to re-add them.
Right, and be like, well, now the technology is here, and in some cases it was like the improved explosions or stuff like that, or maybe the added animal, but some of it wasn't. Here's the Star Wars basement if you want to.
That's
Oh my!
That's really cool.
You're gonna do
And
something.
I will also say that even in 1977, as a 15-year-old, I thought the cantina scene was totally cheesy. I mean, the music is iconic,
Oh yeah.
but just they
What
looked
all
like
crazy,
bad
zany
plastic
creatures
and
they
rubber
can have.
heads. It was just
Yeah.
it just looked so.
Yeah.
Other than, I mean, there were a few like Greedo that they put real work into, and they moved well enough to be interesting. But the vast majority of them were just static heads, and it just looked really
it's like
bad.
one random like demon head guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
He doesn't like you. I don't like you either.
But yeah, how about if you didn't have the music that was in this movie? Like,
gee.
That's a good
it
point.
would just, yeah. It
John
wouldn't be
Williams
good.
during both of these movies made a huge difference.
Yeah, for sure.
Probably made a huge amount of money.
It was really neat to see last year when we went and saw this, like with the Philharmonic playing the score
that
for
would
it.
be
Like that
so
was really
cool.
like, and they did such a good job. You almost like forgot they were there, like under the screen, like people with actual instruments playing, and like there's a guy conducting, and he's got a little tablet that's playing the movie with the score and stuff underneath it, so he can like. It was insane, the music of this, like.
Yeah.
Well, that's what the video from CNN that I posted on the film festival chat. He was talking about how he was trying for a specific, a heraldic type of sound, like you would hear from trumpeters, ushering King Arthur into the castle kind of thing. And it really, when you think about that, it really does fit that mold, and it works tremendously well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Both of these movies have very iconic themes.
Yes. Yeah, it's just wonderful music for sure.
Well, and what's great about the Star Wars movies in general is that they have multiple. There are multiple songs. There are multiple, orchestrations that are associated with the Star. You don't get that a lot with a lot of franchises, right? Like for Back to the Future, of course, you get the iconic main theme, but there's not a lot. There's not the love theme from Back to the Future. There probably is, but nobody.
The power of love.
Yeah, there's.
Yes, kudos to Huey Lewis.
It may make you sing, Dan, but it makes Eric weep. So
Yeah.
Are there any themes besides like the main Raiders of the Lost Ark theme from Indiana Jones that are iconic? Because like that one everyone knows, but is that similar? Or
Did it slow it down?
It make it a ballad.
Well, and I also
on the Brady Bunch when they came back from commercial.
The argument too that there's no question that Star Wars did better with the sequels than Indiana Jones did.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
The second Indiana Jones movie is okay. Third one's a bit better than that, but neither of them holds a candle to the
and
first
the fourth
movie.
one. Oh man!
Star Wars. You can argue that the sequels are possibly better than the first film.
Oh, there are definitely people who would argue that.
Yeah.
Right. The prequels, not so much.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, no, I'm talking about the first three movies, not episodes 1, 2, and 3. The first three
chronologically in release order.
There is a strong fandom. There is a strong fandom for the 1, 2, and 3 for the prequels of younger,
Now those were the ones that I grew up on. those are the ones that were coming out to the theater when I was old enough to start going to the theater and enjoying movies. And I was in 11th grade, I think, the first time I saw 4, 5 episodes 4, 5, and 6.
Oh, wow.
Not like I didn't really know about them because like in my head I was watching Star Wars 1, 2, and 3. Like I didn't really know. But we watched them in high school. My English class, the entire semester was spent watching all 3 of them and tracking.
What a
Like I kid you not, like, and she was fresh out of college, so she was like 22 years old. Like it was awesome. But
we're watching Empire today.
Yep. And we we tracked Luke's heroic journey like through them, and so then we had to do our own reports on movies and heroic journeys and stuff. But it's funny because like as much as I enjoyed the movies and stuff, what I remember most isn't even the movies. It was that my 22-year-old teacher would come sit next to me and the kid in front of me would sit back like this. And I kid you not, every 11 seconds would flip his head from what, like 11, like just, and he wasn't watching a clock. He didn't have a watch, but it was on the clock, 11 seconds. And I had to go this way and then this way. Like, from one side for 11 seconds on the other side. And she just sat there with me and laughed it. And like we clocked it and like it was great.
And to this day, you can perfectly time 11 seconds.
Yeah. Right.
You get a clock made up that does that. The pendulum moves every 11 seconds.
Before we score this,
for the hero's journey, Apocalypse Now. That's what we did. Yeah, Carl Jung's what's it called? The night
Uberman?
journey or whatever, the dream journal stuff. Yeah, we did all that. And
this is amazing.
I mean, I just made that while we were talking in iMovie.
I love it.
That's the thing is that, they do, it's built into every video editor has this crawl, So if you're using Final Cut or iMovie or Premiere Pro, this is baked in to pay homage. I mean, it's not the Wilhelm scream, but it's pretty good.
I like how Star Wars is all caps.
Well, yeah, that's how it is in the.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have like Death Star was the all caps in the crawl in the first movie, just to really make sure you catch Death Star is important.
Luke Starkiller, as he was originally known.
I love it.
Hey, Mom, I just put you as Dan's mom. Sorry.
Sorry, you call Stacy's mom Stacy's mom. Oh, that's fair.
What rating did you give?
What if Stacy's mom was what if Jessie was Stacy's mom and her number was 8675309?
Whoa.
All right. Well, there you go. So now if we want to do scores, you can now play the regular one.
All right.
The EriDan rating bot 6000 is now activated.
The moment you've been waiting for.
Calculating.
Let's throw out some scores for Star Wars.
Well, you get to go first tonight.
I do get to go first. Really mixing things up today. It's all wacky. I mean, weird. So I try, trying to rate this on its own versus what it created.
Yeah, that's tough to do.
It's obviously because it obviously changed everything, everywhere.
Everywhere, all at once.
Yeah,
I knew.
But it does, and it's great. And and so you can't separate the nostalgia and all the feels you get if it's something that you connected with at a young age. It's just awesome, right? The music is amazing, the acting is amazing, the actors that brought us is amazing, the storyline that unfolds afterwards. It's so great because it feels like it could have been the only movie, right? Is what it's, as so many movies are like, oh yeah, but here's the cutscene where the guy that you thought was dead wasn't actually dead.
Yeah, there's not like it. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Darth Vader got away. Yeah, it's nice that there was going to be a sequel, but it wasn't like, oh. Now Empire, obviously, you watch Empire and you're like, there better be another movie.
Fine, they're just going to leave him in carbonite. It's fine.
It's just what happens. Sometimes you get left in carbonite. But I love this movie. I think everything about it is just amazing. I think the fact that it launched a franchise that has so many great components to it that even though there are some not so great components to it, you're like, oh well. You're like, well, I don't need the Book of Boba Fett. It's fine. But it still doesn't take away from how amazing this is and how much fun this is to watch. I ended up at a 96 for this. To me, this movie is amazing. I think there's some room for growth if we ever watch one of the other movies. So I wanted to leave a little area on top, but otherwise, I think this is an amazing movie. And of course, it's a must watch. What are you doing? What do you mean you haven't seen Star Wars? God, watch Star Wars. So there you go.
Seinfeld Star Wars?
May the Force be with you. Okay.
Next. Yeah, I definitely have a lot of fond memories now watching these movies, between watching them in high school and then going and seeing them with the Phil, and then obviously just like on my own here. Yeah, I can't. It was great. And it was actually really nice because I feel like I engaged the movies a lot more because I was also like a good student, so I was paying attention and taking notes, and
nice. Which
is funny because I wouldn't have probably watched them on my own without it. I didn't acknowledge my inner nerd until a lot later in life, but I very much enjoy them. I love them. I think I will go. I think I agree with you, like leaving room for some higher ratings than some of the later ones. I think I will go with an 88.
88 miles an hour. Different movie.
You got some bad driving going on behind you there, Brittany. That car is flipping all over the place.
He's watching Fast and the Furious.
I saw this when I was 15. We went to see it. I don't know if we went to see it the weekend it came out. We certainly saw it the first month it came out. I went with one of my best friends. I think my two best friends and I both went to see it. One of them brought his then new girlfriend. We went to saw it at Beaver Valley Mall, went over to the mall afterwards, got a hot Sam pretzel and a small cherry icy. I had been reading about this movie for at least a year before it came out. I subscribed to Starlog magazine, which was the TV and film science fiction magazine of the day. And there were articles and stories about this and news blurbs leading up to it. There was a special Star Wars issue that I have somewhere in my boxes downstairs. And it lived up to the hype. It is not the changed everything movie for me that it is to some people, but I loved it. And I loved it then, and I still love it. I try to divorce both the movie, as Eric said, from what followed, for both the good and the bad. I mean, the two sequels were great, and so that's certainly a good. Some of the other things that came later, not so good. And so you just sort of have to try to view it on its own, as you would have in 1977, not knowing if there was going to be a sequel, because that would have depended on how well the box office did. Obviously, it did quite well. There were some things about it I didn't like even then, and they still... My reaction to it is almost exactly the same today as it was those many years ago, which is the parts I loved, I still love. The cantina scene, even though the music is fun, still makes me go, oh man, this is like watching Lost in Space with the guy with the giant carrot and the guy with the frog head. You know, it's just really cheesy. And I don't know if that was budget or Lucas's attempt to add levity to it or what it was. So there were some areas that it could have been better, but they don't take away from the parts that are great. So it isn't to me what it is to some people, but I still love it. So it's a 92.
92.7. Why can't I move Brian over? There he goes.
So I think I watched Star Wars in high school first. And it was like when the Phantom Menace was coming out. Like, so I watched all of the ones, like, and then I watched the Phantom Menace in the theaters and that kind of thing. So, and yeah, I like the original three better than the prequels. Like, and I'm gonna leave some room like you guys did, because like I think it's the sixth one. That's the last of the original, right? Mm-hmm. That's my favorite, so that's going to get the highest score. This one gets I think 94.
So that's the Return of the Jedi that was originally called Revenge of the Jedi.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Not a little known fact.
And that would never see Revenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a really fun movie. I don't remember most of the other Star Wars movies. Like I know I've seen all the other ones, but I don't remember them very well. So I don't know if I would rate the like 5 and 6 higher. And I'm pretty sure I saw the like 1, 2, and 3 around when they came out. But I saw the first one when I was 11, and I don't think I was particularly critical at the time. So like I feel like I've seen them like when they came out, and I have vague memories of like. Yeah, they were fun. So like, I don't actually have a particular like ranking in my mind. I know everyone hates the first 3, but I don't know much of my opinion of it very much. So I'll be curious if we do end up watching more Star Wars movies to see where like 5 and 6, and then if we want to watch the prequels, how that goes. But this one by itself, I really enjoy. I don't know when I saw it last. Like, at least like 10 or 15 years ago, if not. So it's been a long time for this. But yeah, as I said, I pretty much kept my attention pretty well. I thought the pacing was good. There was a lot of interesting stuff happening, and the characters were fun. Yeah, it's just a fun movie. 93.
93. Woo.
93. If you're in the comments and you want to put a score in, by all means, we score 1 to 100 is the way we score this movie.
Counted.
Be counted.
Matter. And we're gonna hold off on giving our final scores because I have a feeling the writers said that they might be back around 9 o'clock, and so we might get writer scores before the end of the show.
Yes, and my mother says, I really liked it and thought it held up well. Liked it in 77 and liked it now. She gave it a 95.
Wow,
cool.
I also, I mean, this is one of those movies that it just is. You know, I mean, it feels like. I mean, I was also 7 years old when it came out. Or no, I was probably 6 when it came out. And I turned 7. Anyway, it came out in my 7th year. And it's just always been kind of a part of our lives. And the collectibles and merchandising and putting the credits at the end, not at the beginning of a movie. This is really the first major movie that did that. At least it's credited with that. Dave's typing. I can hear it. Listen to that.
He's checking you.
He's fact checking me.
Sergeant,
but
getting good.
But I do. My rating is always based on, was it a good movie? Was it well written, well acted, well directed, and what I recommend it. It hits all those. So I'm gonna go with the 93.
93. Very nice. All right. Yeah, it is not too late. If you're in the comments, we want to hear from you. Yeah, and you can even comment on Star Wars while we move on, but we are 47 minutes in, so we really need to move on because we don't want to shortchange Harrison Ford as he brings us Raiders of the Lost Ark, also not originally titled Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark. So we got that in common between our movies too. 1981, Harrison Ford, Karen Allen, and a bunch of other people. Steven Spielberg. Lucas getting a little writing in there. Little bigger budget, $20 million for Indiana Jones. Worldwide gross $390 million. Critics in the audience both at 96%. Lots of love for Indy.
Oh wait, we can go normal screen. Sorry.
There you go. How are you? Yeah. So here we go. Indiana Jones. 4 years after Star Wars. We get to see Harrison Ford come back. A lot of open shirt stuff happening here. Little eye candy, I guess, for those who want that. We got the introduce of this.
Such a look.
That's so good.
And there you go. There you go. Always keep the hat. He always keeps the hat no matter what. And
the scene when he's entering the bar. And you just see his shadow with the hat as he's going in. It was just beautifully done.
Fantastic. And the amazing thing, so there's a Indiana Jones stunt spectacular in Disney World.
Yes, I have seen that.
The greatest thing about that is when we first went, which is like shortly after they opened this, so this is late 80s, early 90s, you could actually buy real whips in Disney. Now they sell toy whips, but my parents bought me a real whip.
I remember that whip. That sounded weird.
Awesome, thank you very much.
That's what happened to the other banana.
It's a great there. Yes.
Did you become a pro with the whip? Did you practice a lot, or?
I destroyed the whip. The whip, it did not last for very long. It wasn't a high quality whip, but it was.
He whipped it well. He whipped it good.
Evo would say yes, absolutely. But I mean, so here's my first real memory, because my entire family went to go see this movie, which we did not do very often as a family. But I remember the entire family went to see Indiana Jones, or at least a good portion. There was a lot of us, but I remember there was a multitude of Sheemers and Indiana Jones, and we're in the movie, and Indiana Jones is running away from the boulder, and I lean over to my mother and I say, I might be too young to see this. By the end of that scene, the end of that opening, I was terrified.
I mean, the guy got like spikes through his face.
Yeah,
And
it was pretty.
Yeah, there was so much.
I-
By the time we got to the border, my heart was racing so hard. I'm like, I don't know if this is appropriate for me.
Yeah,
And
I'm
a
not
movie
sure
that we
it's, like,
previously
much-
watched, The Mummy would not exist if not for this movie.
Yeah.
This
Oh, no.
very- But the Mummy 2 would. No, I'm sorry.
Because I'm not sure if it's like much more violent than Star Wars, but Star Wars is all like space violence, so it's like lightsabers and phase like ray guns.
Just an entire
It's not
planet was
like-
destroyed.
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
don't see like, but they don't like actual blood really. Like Indiana Jones does a lot like more
Yeah,
like
you're
The closest
a
was
little
the scorched
Christmas.
bodies. The closest was the scorched bodies in the desert. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, but Indiana Jones was giving you some ooze. You were definitely getting a little ick.
Yeah.
And Tom Selleck was the first pick,
What
Not
could have
Would he
been?
have kept his
Ford.
mustache?
Interesting.
but he was too committed to Magnum PI. Couldn't do it. And Adam, by the way, gives a 92.
Oh, very nice.
Oh my!
Great start to the trilogy, even
Wow,
though it
that's
was my
like
least
100
favorite
for
of the
Adam.
three.
That's nice.
And I'd almost exactly agree with that. I gave it a 92, and
Mm,
I do think the sequels in many ways improve on it.
nice.
And Rebecca has some comments. My family and I watch Indiana Jones every Christmas when they play a marathon on TV.
Oh,
Wow.
But do you have a score for Star Wars?
You might.
And Scott may be popping in to give his scores as
We'll
well.
see if the writers just come in and tank Star Wars for some reason.
It's very possible. It's all
33. What a piece of crap.
It's looking great. And all three of them just-
Reagan is the wild card for Star Wars. You never know.
I only watched the first half hour, but
That's all right. It just didn't hold my attention, but I give it a 4.
the opening was really slow.
That's right. Exactly. Here's your shadow.
Oh, the shadow work in this. There were some multiple shadow scenes that were just really well done.
Yeah.
And we were watching it at Amanda's place, and we started sort of singing lyrics along to the theme as he was, like when he's in, my shirt is way too small. I'm going to take a bigger one for this guy
Yeah,
here.
by the time we got to the car chase and they just kept playing that tune over and over, at some point you just start like
That's
singing.
true. We're introduced to the big map graphic that now is the iconic.
Well,
This
that
is
was
what
no,
it's
that's
like when you
But
travel.
that's in
that's
Oman-
not-
that's in Casablanca. That's in old movies. That's where that comes from.
No.
Look,
But,
Palestine. Did you see
It's so
that?
beautiful.
Not East Palestine.
I don't even know, like, if they did, like, is it like before Casablanca even? I wonder if they.
I don't think
yeah.
it originated with Casablanca, but that's probably the most famous known
Yeah,
of it.
love Casablanca. That's a good one.
So
it's a great-
Amanda mentioned the car chase.
I have opinions.
And I will say, here is the number one flaw, because there are a lot of great moments during this whole thing, and particularly when Indiana Jones is going underneath the
It's
truck
a
is a
one-shot
great
car
scene.
chase, really cool
Outside-
story.
Outside of the fact that at that point they're in complete control of the situation. Indiana Jones is under the Jeep. There is nobody else chasing them. Just stop. Pull over and beat up the guy that's underneath your car. You don't have to keep going.
They
There's
have
no
to keep the
reason.
movie going, Eric.
What else will they do with their time? No, they got to do this.
But it looks cool. All
And
right.
it's super easy.
The guy
barely
that's under your car. You don't have to keep racing at breakneck speeds, waiting for this guy that's underneath your car. I understand. It makes for a great movie.
It does.
But it is a point where it does seem like it's like, just pull over. Just pull over and run the guy over. It's
But
fine.
he doesn't know he's there. He thought he's run him over.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize that he's
Go in
crawling
front,
under.
you're turning around, staring at they're just to stop the car.
The telltale sign of somebody being dragged behind your car. I'm not sure you really know how easy that is to notice.
Well, they didn't have backup cameras back then.
Yeah, there you go.
See, right there, pointing. Stop the car.
Wait,
What
what?
are they pointing at the Seinfeld again? Stop
I
the
didn't know
car!
Paul Hogan was in the movie? Was that Paul Hogan?
That is. That's right. Now this is a knife.
That's not an arc. This
That's
is
not
an
a
arc.
knife. That's not an arc. This is an arc. There he is. Oh, there he is. All right. I thought it was Jack Hanna for a while there.
But
I
I
was
also
still-
wanted to bring up
Him or, like just somebody who looks kind of like him.
the stunt work in that scene is incredible.
Oh yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I did post a link to the opening credits to Casablanca where they do their map scenes, just so you can see.
Oh, very nice.
But
I've never seen
there were so many quotable lines from Star Wars. I think there's so many iconic images from this movie, whether it's the giant boulder, whether it's the warehouse scene at the end, whether it's just there's so many scenes. The shooting of the guy that's flipping the sword around.
Oh yeah, which was improv, right? That was supposed to be a big duel scene.
Yep.
And Harrison Ford was like, "Can I just shoot the guy?"
He had food poisoning that day. I was just reading that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Speaking of food
He
poisoning,
showed up anyways.
hold
he
on.
didn't want to film. And he had food poisoning, showed up, and then it was supposed to be a big fight scene, but because he felt so sick, they were like, "There you go."
Make it short.
And one of the small little scenes I just love is when the Ark is loaded in the crate on the ship, and it just burns the swastika off the side of the crate. I just absolutely thought that was just it was a small touch, and then of course every time they showed it after there's just a big scorch mark on the side. That was just beautifully
Speaking of
done.
scorch
Just
mark.
small thing.
It's Scott.
I like the other intro better.
It's like we're shooting this to make you look tall or something. That
How do you go from Terminator to Grease?
Terminator.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes,
What I
Scott.
missed?
Well, we already did Star Wars, so we need your score, and then we're talking about
You've
Raiders of
never
the Lost
seen
Ark.
Star Wars.
Have I seen Star Wars? The score for
It's an obscure little one.
I know.
I mean, Eric hasn't seen Jaws, so
I haven't
Eric's
seen
never seen a
Hitchcock
Hitchcock
either, so let's keep going.
okay. Star Wars easily at least a 97.
There we go.
Okay.
Nice done. All right. So now
Eric
we're
had never seen a Cary Grant movie until I put Bringing Up Baby on the film festival.
That is true. That is true.
Wow.
But I've
is
seen
true.
Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band 473 times.
Oh,
Just
well,
saying.
now we know how you get to sleep.
Oh. Bazinga.
Well played. Well played.
Dang. Hot dog. All right. So we're mid Indiana Jones discussion here as we talk about Harrison. And again, we discussed the music already a little bit when we were talking about Star Wars. Of course, and this is just a run for John Williams, where like he could do no wrong.
Never. No, the guy just knows his craft. He knows everybody that he really just studied everyone that he grew up with. And honestly, like, I don't think I've ever heard a bad John Williams score. He's just that invested in all his stuff. Anybody who's heard a bad John Williams score, please tell me. Like,
Well,
man,
what about the I Passed for White in 1960? Did you hear that one?
Oh,
I didn't know you were born in 1960.
I wasn't. I'm just reading ones off of Wikipedia.
Oh,
wow. How about
well, I haven't heard that one, but I bet it's
How
good
about
at least.
The Long Goodbye.
That was
Yeah,
nice.
this guy's done it. He did Earthquake. Oh. Speaking of
And of course,
Earthquake,
speaking of 1977, he also did Close Encounters. So he was absolutely on
he
fire.
did
in that era.
Jaws.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's had a couple of hits.
Speaking of Earthquake,
Yep.
Eric.
Although I realize I don't think Wade's in the picture. So, but
He's
it's
putting the trash out.
oh man.
He also did 1941, so maybe that's
Speaking of cracking a whip.
Whoa. Ah. Wow. Nice.
Blazing Saddles.
So you missed all of our Star Wars discussion. We are just getting started into Raiders.
Oh
So-
man.
I know, but you can share your thoughts. Do you want to? We would love to hear your thoughts on Star Wars.
Well, it's funny because it doesn't look 77 to me. It doesn't look like from 1977 to me, and I love it. So, what I don't love is all the added
Special
animals.
features.
Yeah, I don't like that because I can tell the
I
difference.
watched the version without that, so
Well, we didn't have that, so I want to compare the two. So I'm going to look for it and watch it because I that just ruined it. And sometimes I was like, so is this old or is that new? Did that happen in the original? So,
well, if you have to ask, that's a good sign.
yeah. And I some of it, you could tell that they had added. So I love A New Hope, and this time I paid attention to it from the beginning to the end instead of going, oh, I've seen this. I'm like, oh, look at that. It follows a storyline.
It's amazing when you watch it in order how that happens.
Wow. It's amazing when you watch a movie how it makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes, you just feel like you know it because it's been around your entire life. So you assume.
That's true.
So yeah, I enjoyed it. Oh, there he is.
Has anyone here actually seen Hidden Fortress, the movie that inspired New Hope?
No.
If you watch that movie and you realize what they did with the droids, you will be shaking your head like, what the heck?
Okay.
Literally.
Interesting.
You have to watch Hidden Fortress. It is required Star Wars fandom watching.
Hidden Fortress.
Or
I did
Family,
not know that.
Family Guy's The Blue Harvest, if you want to watch or the Phineas and Ferb take on Star Wars is actually also very good.
We'll have to watch
Family
it.
Guy's got two of them.
I'm just throwing those out. All right, Stacey, do you want to give a score to Star Wars?
Oh, I think I'm going to give it a 97.
Wow.
Hey.
7. All right. All right. Reagan.
I say for the first one, it would be the 91 because I like that. I like 6 is my favorite for some reason, but 4 is also good. Like I like the special effects. I like how you can see it was made at the time that it was made, but at the same time, it looks newer. So I enjoy it. It just was really well done. But
Wade.
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars.
Yeah. So it was. I saw it in the theater when it
There's
first
lots of
came
things
out,
to
and it
buy.
was pretty amazing. And it was probably the first movie I ever remember that they had like action figures and all that stuff started coming out from the movie and stuff. So it I say it holds itself, and hey, it sparked off a career for people who want to collect Star Wars stuff. But 50 years, who would have thought? And so I'll give it a 97 also. Yeah.
Oh,
cool.
I think we might have a new number 1, Eric.
Pretty good score. Yeah.
That's a really good score. Stay tuned to find out how it did. Number 4.
Did everybody else give it?
Huh?
Mid and high 90s.
There was only like
Mostly
one in
90s.
the 80s.
A lot of 90s, We're definitely in the 90s here for Star Wars.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really high.
Cool.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
So back to Indiana Jones. Not to keep Harrison Ford waiting.
Just
both movies. It's fine.
I got my first car down at Harrison Ford.
I said it last week. Like he would not be able to throw that golden statue.
Well, of course,
the way he did.
Well, unless it was hollow, but you certainly implied that it was solid.
And him, at the beginning when he's trying to assess the weight of it.
Yeah, he goes.
And he just looks at it. You can't tell how dense it is by just looking at it.
He's an experienced archaeologist.
Right, exactly, Dave. Exactly.
The weight
I
of an
didn't
average
take,
ounce of
take
gold.
me out of the movie, but it was a little silly that he's like, this looks like it's about this dense. It's like, it could be gold plated. You don't know what
That was such a smooth move, though, the way he rolls that on.
It was very stylish. I'm not
But he also screwed up because it wasn't the right weight.
He fails at it, which is what makes the scene great.
It doesn't work. That's a good point. He can't
No,
actually.
the reason it didn't work is because he tipped his hat, and the statue went, "Oh yeah, well."
Just a power play by the statue.
Yeah.
But that boulder scene is just awesome. That is such
Oh man,
Yeah, for sure.
the best.
This time I'm like, when the boulder starts, I'm like, just stand there, run back the other way, you know.
Yeah.
But I guess it's
So they just happen to have that boulder. It's 100% made of fiberglass. And they just said, you want to throw this in there? Like, okay. And originally it's supposed to be like 20, 30 feet of just being chased. And then Steven Spielberg loved it so much, he said, how about we just make it 50 feet longer? So it turned another 15 seconds of footage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what makes a great director. Great instincts.
It's true.
Mhm.
Yeah, there was
What's
even
unique?
you want to tell it, Reagan?
Go
Cartoon.
for it, Dad. You're into it
It's
more
a-
than me.
It was funny on it. If you ever saw Bluey, they play Raiders of the Lost Ark where they roll a big ball down the hallway and the kids all run from it. And try
Has anyone seen the Simpsons parody?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With Bart stealing the jar of change from Homer's desk. And then he hears something rumbling, and it's Homer in his underwear who trips down the stairs and rolls after him.
God.
And I can't say how that scene ends, but if you watch it, just it's beautiful.
Yes, right, Adam?
Alfred
Exactly.
Molina's first
French
movie.
kiss.
Oh my gosh. I couldn't believe it.
And he had opening credits. He was in the opening credits.
And he was in it for like 5 minutes. It was pretty crazy.
Although
Well,
the
it
mannequin that
opens-
was killed of him did not.
It opens without you seeing Harrison Ford's face for like
Yes.
a couple of minutes. And then all of a sudden you just turn around and his face is the entire screen. I mean, he is just an absolute hero shot.
It's very cool.
They all look like babies.
Mm.
Oh my gosh, they were so
I
young.
love the fact that Harrison Ford's airplane pilot, Jacques, gets like 2 minutes of screen time, and yet there's an entire restaurant in Disney World devoted to Jacques.
Yeah.
And how many conventions has he gone to?
I know, right? Like, yeah, I'm Jacques. Come on now.
He's
Here's
like,
my
"I
snake.
flew a plane once."
He has a pet snake that he brings with him on a plane.
Yeah.
Hey, the original Jennifer Parker, Claudia Wells, she goes to all the Back to the Future, all the Comic Cons.
Why not?
Yeah,
She
might as
was
well.
in that movie for more
She was
than-
only in the first one. She was Elizabeth Shue played it in the other two.
Heck yeah.
This is true.
Yeah, but Elizabeth Shue was the replacement.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Always go with the original.
Well, we hit a slight lull, and we already.
I just want to really quick. I want to touch upon the graphics, the where the moment I think it falls apart. It's an epic movie. It's an amazing movie, but when they open the Ark, is where it starts to feel dated. I'm all in. I'm all in. They open the Ark, and all of a sudden, it's Eddie Murphy's Haunted Mansion with the special effects.
But see, I don't think that's as bad as the cantina scene in Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Where you've got plastic
no.
Halloween masks on a bunch of actors' faces.
Yeah. Although at least Star Wars is always already kind of going for like an absurd alien kind of thing, while Indiana
This is
Jones is
true.
more like Earth grounded. So anything that's not like normal everyday Earth feels more out of place. I think.
I
To
mean-
be fair, I didn't mind the ghost. I thought I thought it was a cool scene, but I think
Don't
that's-
get me wrong. In 1981, the face melting freaked me out as a child.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that is a
Yeah.
that image sticks in your mind.
I think it's primarily it's more of the Ghostbusters ghosts flying around.
It gave me kind of Large Marge Pee-wee's Big Adventure vibe on it. The sudden jump scare, horrifying face scene, and then it's like, oh, okay.
I did love, however, the lid falling back onto the Ark and just sort of like bouncing and
Oh,
sitting
good, let's
there.
watch the ghosts.
Yeah. That is totally Haunted Mansion.
Yeah. Just keep your eyes closed. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Here it
You
goes.
That scene so much.
I also like
Yeah.
that when all the bad guys are walking through the desert, they're all wearing like it's a desert, so they're all like wearing white and like tan because it's hot, except for the one bad guy who's wearing like pitch black and like an overcoat.
Actually, fun fact about that desert: it's the same desert
There it is.
canyon where they found R2D2, the Jawas.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow! How about
That
that?
Look at that shot.
Canon that they found R2D2 there.
And one of the
Oh,
guys at the
well, there we
beginning.
Spoiler alert!
Explosion at the end. Yeah.
You also
Oh, I
have to
thought
remember, too, when they
It's so
blew up
funny.
the
I had it up the whole
Death Star.
time. I thought I was playing it too.
that explosion is still better than the explosion of the blowing up Death Star.
Yeah,
the blowing up the Death Star looks like they had just.
My brother to this day talks about the lasagna guy in Raiders of the Lost Ark, and that's what he's talking about.
That's a bouquet of flowers.
The lasagna guy.
Amazing.
You have to live within your budget.
The guy at the beginning who was one of the two government men, his name started with an E.
Porkins.
Yes, he was Porkins in Star Wars. Because I'm like, why do I know this guy? I literally just saw him die 20 minutes ago in the last movie.
And actually, according to the Star Wars comic, he's supposed to be this legendary pilot, which is why Luke Skywalker freaks out when he dies. And I was really hoping there'd be like a scene in Rogue One where you actually just see him, jammed into his cockpit, big old fat Porkins just killing things right and left and right and left. Just so that you'd be going like, wait, this is the guy who like died instantly in the first movie. Why are they building him up like this?
The thing is that I don't want to get back onto Star Trek, Star Wars, Star Trek.
Forget on Star Trek.
Wait, maybe not Star Trek. Anyway, but I'm gonna, because that was the other thing about it, is that I started like, oh, Biggs, he knows that guy. This is the guy he talked about at the beginning. Never caught that in the many times I've watched that movie. He knows these people. It was
exactly.
I do have to say I disagree with Adam's
going to go
comment.
get some power containers.
I disagree with Adam's comment. I thought the ending of Raiders of the Lost Ark was wonderful. I thought that was just such a perfect ending to the movie.
I don't know if by the ending he means the face melting bit or if he means like the actual final shot.
I think he means the very ending where they're putting the crate in the warehouse.
Oh, see, I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was
that's cool.
Especially the warehouse is.
Top men.
The thing with visual effects, according to my friend who we've mentioned before, who's been on the show, Richard Malzahn, is visual effects are always at the end, and typically they're out of budget by the time they're doing the visual effects. And so sometimes you got to melt a face a little differently than you would if you had all the budget.
First, if only they had melted the face first. All right, let's melt some scores.
All right, we start with you as always.
With me again. How about that?
It's your movie.
What are you gonna say? I mean, this is an amazing movie. It's fantastically written. It does create a world. It creates an iconic character. The nice thing about this is you look at Indiana Jones and he is Indiana Jones. It's not like, wait, that's Han Solo. And I feel like sometimes it's like, when you watch Chris Pratt, you're like, well, that's Chris Pratt. It's and I feel like he really did such an amazing job creating a separate character that just feels so iconic and different than his also iconic character from the Star Wars universe. I love so much about this. And it's really well done. I said there are parts that I question whether it holds up. Maybe the chase scene is a little long, but it's still an amazing movie. And so I ended up at a 93 for Indiana Jones Raiders.
93. All
93.
Right. Thanks.
Yes.
Why did it have to be snakes?
So I did really enjoy this movie, despite my complaints about the chase scene. And it was still like, it's not like it was. I think I've mentioned on the show before that I tend to get bored as like action scenes go on. Like I don't really enjoy long action scenes in movies. And this, despite being as long as it was actually still relatively engaging. So I need to give them credit for that. Like there were enough different moments in the like internal fight scene. Like there was the fight on the plane that was going to take off, and then it transitioned to a car chase, and the car chase had different, like there was like changes. It wasn't just like a car chase for half an hour, but it still like was half an hour of constant action and constant da 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 da. Like we could have had like a little bit of like downtime to kind of catch our breath. But I mean, it was still a really fun movie. I can't rate it as high as Star Wars just because that held my attention better, and I'm ultimately needing to rate this on how much I enjoyed watching this, and there were definitely parts that were not as engaging to me. So I'm going to give this one an 86.
86.
Ooh.
That's a great hat, Indy.
I have to say this. I mean, it's a great movie by itself, but I am very biased because it pays homage to movies that I love. I love King Solomon's Mines and She. I love the old Stuart Granger movies from the 50s. I love the old movie serials. And that's what this is really paying homage to. And that's what it's a direct reference to. and so it hit the perfect sweet spot for me. It also had no scenes that pulled me out of it the way that the cantina scene did in Star Wars. And even though I understand what people say about the animation around the reveal of the opening of the Ark looking a bit dated, doesn't bother me in the slightest. And the long chase, there are long chases that I can't stand. When I watch, it's either the second or third Matrix movie with the car chase that goes on forever, because all it is special effects. All it is nonstop special effects. This is a car chase with some of the best stunt work I've ever seen in a movie, and it doesn't for a second wane for me. If it had been longer, maybe it would have, but it worked perfectly. It's virtually, for me, and I realize this isn't going to be for everyone, the perfect movie, and so it gets a 98.
Woo!
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
Well.
I enjoyed this movie. I think it's hard because I don't want to compare it to like the other two, but like when you're thinking of how to rate them, like where it would fall. But yeah, I did. It was nice to watch this one again. I haven't watched this one in a few years, so it was really fun to kind of get that refresher. I definitely agree with all the comments that have been made. I think I'm gonna settle at a 91 for this one.
91.
I liked the car scene. I like the ending with the faces melting. I like the whole movie, really. And I like the music. I don't know what else can you say. I noticed the Casablanca thing this time watching it. I didn't the first time I watched it a long time ago, but yeah, at like the end, like they kind of had this moment that really reminds you of Casablanca, I think. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 96. I liked it a lot. Currently and always. Yeah.
All right, so let's go over to Scott.
Okay, well, this is where I get to say that there are two movies that are responsible for me working in film, video, TV, and why I went to school for it. They're Back to the Future, Amadeus, and Indiana Jones.
Nice.
Did you say two?
I could talk about this movie for ages. It's the first movie series where I just watched not only all three of them instantly, but just would watch the behind the scenes over and over and over again. I got obsessed with how it's an amazing practical achievement while also still being a fun and relevant story to what a lot of people were thinking about at the time with nostalgic films, as well as this sort of World War II throwback period that a lot of people were starting to get into in the late 70s, early 80s. It was a redemption movie for Spielberg after 41. It was a passion project for Lucas. I mean, it's this and Star Wars. These are the two ideas that he had out of film school. It's had a profound impact on my life and what I choose to do. And honestly, I will be referencing Indiana Jones probably for the next however long I'm around. So I'll probably go for like 100 out of 100 on this.
Wow.
Wow.
Perfect.
Wow. 10 out of 10.
Wow. And by the way, did you say the top two movies and then you listed three?
No, he listed
Yes. Yes, he did say two.
Yes.
You said
Although I
two,
would
but
say
then
The
you listed
Incredibles
three.
is probably my favorite movie that I like to reference. So.
Well, no. I'm saying at the beginning you said there are two movies that got me where I am: Raiders of the Lost Ark, Back to the Future, and Amadeus.
Yeah,
that's three movies.
Okay, well,
actually,
technically, Back to the Future is three movies, and Indiana Jones is three movies. So technically, there's seven.
Okay.
I don't count Crystal Skull.
All right, let's go to the Riders.
Riders of the Lost Ark.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah, saw this in the movie theater too when it came out. Well, actually, the funny story was, now when I was in the Marine Corps boot camp, this came out when I was in boot camp, and in hand-to-hand combat training, the instructor was talking about this movie he saw where it was really cool, where this guy comes out with this big knife and throws it all around, and then the guy just pulls a gun out and shoots him. So he's like, that's how you do it.
There, you're trained.
Yeah. So just make sure you have a gun. And it was, yeah, I mean, it pretty well held everything together, I think. And also it made a long series. I mean, they're still making them today.
Mhm.
So
True.
it is pretty much a classic too. So I'm going to give it a 95.
95.
Go for it.
All right. This movie is very long. I don't know what you guys talked about before we got here, but I kept thinking, is there another segment? Oh my gosh, can we just be done? But and I don't like what's her face. I never have from 40 years ago or whenever this movie came out to now. I still don't like her. I liked her better this time, but I still
Karen
don't.
Allen.
Yeah, that'd be Karen Allen.
Or
Otherwise known as what's her face.
whatever her character name was. Her as a person, I don't know. As an actress, as a character, I did not like the character. It was annoying.
You don't like Marriott.
Yeah, I didn't like her. I didn't like her. I didn't like her back then either. I'm not sure why. I do like how they filmed it. I think it's beautiful. The German guy got on my nerves with his black coat.
Germans tend to do that.
Yeah.
No offense. No offense.
I expected a more sympathetic Nazi.
It's literally Indiana Jones and Revenge of the Jews. What'd you expect?
Wow.
Oh my God.
There it is.
So, what else? And one of the things I noticed when we were watching it, you guys were talking about how it reminded you of Casablanca and other movies along those lines, probably the Maltese Falcon and stuff like that. One of the things that I kept seeing with the background, they had this big blue sky, like dark at night, but it was kind of like midnight blue and waves and stuff. And I'm like, wow, this looks like the Ten Commandments going on here. So there was a lot of different techniques that they were using throughout this movie that I noticed too. So I don't know. Raiders is not one of my favorites. I love the music because we played it in band. I still remember that.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
then-
Barton.
Yeah. No.
Sorry,
Blackburn.
Yeah. And then
Wab.
Sorry. Yeah. Oh my gosh. But
Beaver
it's still
County.
really a good movie, and all the things you guys said about what made it good and all that, I have to agree. And that Harrison Ford could be Indy and Han Solo at the same time. It's pretty amazing. He was still a good character actor. He's not like other people who are just themselves.
And Jack Ryan.
Tom Hanks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the President of the United States.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Exactly. So I think I'm going to give it an 89.
89. And while before you go,
Reagan.
I was driving in Seattle a couple weeks ago
Yeah.
and I saw this.
Oh.
There's a restaurant named after you guys.
Nice. We'll have to come out there and
Yep.
go there.
There you go.
Wow. That's beautiful.
All right, back to you.
I feel like you guys would be happy to know that I graduated from Harrison Ford walking around to Harrison Ford running around. It got more exciting. No, I mean, okay, like I do want to say, like having watched it a second time, I agree with what specifically Amanda, Eric, and even what Dave had said about how like it checks the boxes for him, and then Eric, what you were saying about like the characters and just all those things that you guys said, I agree with completely. It is a really good movie. It is really well done. It is, especially for the time that it was made. Like I understand why so many people think that it's so good. And for that, like I do have a higher rating for it than I expected. But I also just think that I grew up knowing all of the details about this movie before I watched it. Mm-hmm. So it just wasn't fun for me any of the times that I've watched it. It's just kind of like, oh, it's just like, I don't know. I guess I just think that desert adventure movies are also not really my thing. And I think that I watch a lot of spy shows. I watch a lot of action movies. Like that's the stuff that I enjoy. And so I think that all of that stuff mixed together just makes it not for me and kind of more on the boring side. But because of all the other stuff, like I can recognize, hey, this is actually a really, really good movie, even if it's not for me. So I don't know. I think that I would give it like a 79 because it really is a really good movie, but it's just not for me.
But what happens when they release Shazam Goes to Egypt? What are you going to do then?
Exactly.
I'll go to my with him and I'll say, why'd you do that?
And the reason she knew the movie is because she had seen it at Disney World so many times.
Yeah.
You see.
Yeah.
All right.
Still
You're
using
the-
jokes for 23 years, 27.
Reagan is the Adam of Raiders.
Yeah.
Oh, we don't have Adam yet. But my
have
mom enjoys watching this every time she sees it. It's scary, exciting, has some humor and romance in 96.
Nice.
And I will agree with a lot of what everybody said. I mean, it's what it is. It's a great movie, top to bottom.
Well, I like to watch it.
Yeah. And I'm going to go with a 94.
94.
I did want to mention it's easy to overlook the great humor that's in this movie. I mean, whether it's the schoolgirl with the "Love You" written on her eyelids, or the scene where the evil German guy, the evil German guy is pulling out the chain and the sticks, looking like nunchucks, and it's just a coat hanger. I mean, just
man, I love that.
Great little throwaway moments that are just so wonderfully done.
I think you should be able to buy that coat hanger. You think you would have that as the ultimate Indiana Jones collectible. I'd like all my coats to be hung on hangers just like that. All right. Well, if anybody else is in the comments, Adam, wants to give a score, make sure you do that. And while we wait for that, we could move on to maybe choosing a movie for next week, right?
Yeah.
Whoa.
I think it's time to visit the Wheel of Reels. All right. As you know, for every score you give a movie, you get a space on the Wheel of Reels. We've got quite a few here.
It's so. It looks weirdly patriotic.
It's weirdly patriotic.
Adam.
There's a lot of Adams. There's quite a few Daves. There's quite a few. Your mom's on here quite a few times.
Your mom. Just say your mom.
Your mom.
Susan Rosenberg.
Susan Rosenberg's on here a lot.
Adam says, never a huge Indiana Jones fan. They're good movies, but in all the movies, there's parts that are too long and kind of drag on, but I still like it. 70.
Right. Nice.
70. Whoa.
That's fair.
A major hit. Indiana Jones.
You guys are full of shit.
Listen,
that was
for
just
Adam, that's like
a high
really
score
high.
for Adam.
That's incredible.
I can understand the
It's like
movie
above
not being for
50.
you.
It's like,
It just is unfathomable for me to someone describe Raiders of the Lost Ark as either slow or boring, because it is just a non-stop roller coaster ride from beginning to end.
It is true.
No, I agree with that though. I do agree. I just think that I've just seen way too many things that I'm just not surprised by any of it. I'm just kind of like, oh, this guy's gonna get punched in the face. Oh, this guy's dead. Oh, this guy's gonna melt. Like, like I've just seen enough that it just doesn't.
Yes, but it invented that.
I
You've
know.
been desensitized, Reagan.
And to be
You've been
fair, even though I
desensitized.
24 almost.
And like, even though I did enjoy the car chase, when I say it went on too long, the fact that it was just the same thing for a while does kind of start to feel slow. Like, sure, it's an action scene, but it's an action scene where it's pretty much the same thing for a while. So that like, it's a kind of slow. It's not
Scott,
awful. It was just dragged.
Scott, just remember, one of my favorite movies is Somewhere in Time, and it was trashed by everyone.
That
It's
was
the reason
pretty
I love
far
time
down on the
travel.
list.
Scott, have you watched that movie yet?
I have not seen Somewhere in Time yet.
All right, I'm gonna
Man,
make you watch it.
educate this man.
I'm okay with watching trash movies, but
not a trash movie.
Well, okay. Oh, you said people trashed it. Okay, my bad.
People trashed it. I love it.
All right. Well, here we go, everybody. Star Wars: A New Hope coming in as our fourth highest rated movie of all time.
That's fifth, Eric.
Oh, I'm just first.
Whatever.
Oh, and back
Sorry,
There's four in front of it. That makes it fifth.
Forrest Gump, Iron Man.
It's the fourth episode.
If there's anything we've learned is that counting is hard.
It is hard. It's
Have you
all
ever
very
tried to
difficult.
count?
So Forrest Gump,
No,
Iron
hold
Man,
There we go. Hold on. There we go.
Yeah,
We
I'm
are.
getting vertigo here.
Back to the Future, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Yeah, I don't know. I think Star Wars is better than that. Can I change my score?
No, the scores have been locked in.
Yes.
So there we go.
We did get a rare 100 though. I can only think of a few
Yeah.
others. I know Eric gave Spinal Tap a 100.
I did, absolutely. And the winner, Harry Met Sally.
I don't think I even gave Back to the Future 100, did I? I
You
gave it a
did not.
99.
Oh,
You did not, absolutely, which is why it has slipped so far
Yeah, what is my
down the
I would probably knock down Forrest Gump a little bit if I scored that one. I wasn't here for that.
Yeah, I wasn't here for Forrest Gump either, and I wouldn't have scored it
See what
that high.
happens when
That's
you-
all I got to say
Yeah.
about that.
See, but you can say that, but you didn't watch it like last week, and that one maybe when you watched it, then you
Yeah, if I watched it again, it'd be even lower than what I remember.
amazing.
This show is like a box of chocolates.
Yeah, Spider Verse, I
know.
gave it
Now,
99 too.
speaking of not knowing what you're gonna get,
Let's spin the wheel.
spin the wheel. Let's see who gets to choose a movie. Obviously, if somebody comes up who's not here, we will spin again. So I'm gonna give this.
So what else is
Couple of Adams, just to,
Let's find out what's happening next week. Who's choosing our movies for next week? Let me see here, and it is going to.
Adam got the TV show,
Movie.
and now he's got a movie to choose.
wow.
His movie and his TV show.
Absolutely.
I feel like he's earned
Strange
this.
feeling it's going to be something that rhymes with Schmeckmeyer Mike's Mac.
What?
The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks,
I
Ryan.
don't know.
Translating.
But I think I don't know when I saw Star Wars for the first time, but my first association with the words "Empire Strikes Back" was the Brack parody of the Umpire Strikes Brack, where there's just
On
an
Space
umpire,
Ghost, yes.
yes, hitting Brack, going, "You're out, you're out, you're out."
Jeez.
You're out of order.
When I hear Empire Strikes Back, that's all I can think of.
Wow.
Umpire Strikes.
That's
It's a very
terrible.
common-
There it is.
Oh
Everyone
my
gets
God, you're right. Wow,
Yeah.
there it is.
Oh, he did it.
Whoa, Adam,
Yes.
way to go. Star Wars
I
episode
thought-
5.
Yeah, Adam, what you should have done is we got to keep the chain going. ... And they'll all be like, not Harry Potter 5.
Oh, I would have chosen Harry Potter 5.
I know.
We're gonna watch The Mummy
I
3.
have.
And by the way, The Empire Strikes Back will be next Sunday,
Yes.
not Monday.
All right.
Is
It'll be-
correct.
I will be live in Pittsburgh with Eric
Hmm.
and maybe other members of the show. Maybe the
Oh,
writers will be
that'd be fun.
there.
Yeah.
We'll do the show
Be a
from
wild
Pittsburgh
time.
Uh-huh.
That
area.
makes sense because I was just gonna say I was like, Dan, I think we're hanging out with you that night. So
Yeah, we got the screening, and then we'll do this.
Yes, obviously, anybody here who wants to come over to the Shemer Mansion is welcome to come over after the viewing.
Shemer Manor, it's called.
Shemer Manor. I don't know. We have no manners here. So you know where to find Empire Strikes Back. It's on Disney Plus, of course.
Or other places.
Oh, and Adam won't be here. Wait a second. Oh, he won't be
Oh, it
here.
won't be at your house.
Oh, come on.
Here, he won't be there. So we'll see how many people we can gather here live. This would be very difficult. We're gonna have
We're
tons of
live anyway, but we'll be
Yeah, it's
together
live now.
live.
yeah. I
So
don't
how
have a
many tickets have
microphone.
been sold, Dan?
We're at 122 right now.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
And the Beaver County Times will be doing an article tomorrow or the day after, so that'll probably pack
Oh,
it.
very cool.
sweet.
Well, Dan, now you need to explain what's going on for people who might not be aware.
We're doing a screening of the show at the Lindsay Theater in Sue Wickley, Pennsylvania.
And by the show, you mean your debut.
It's
Show
a
me-
lot.
not
The
Eric.
sitcom. It's a lot.tv. You can get your tickets at right now if you want to
Oh
get
my
them.
goodness, so easy. And there's a merch store now, isn't there?
Yes, we have a merch store set up, which some of it won't make sense until you see the show.
Yeah.
And
But
Eric will
posters,
be there.
T-shirts. I'll be there.
As a,
Uh,
I mean,
Eric
Eric's
Springfield will not be
co-creator. Eric came up with the name.
I did come up with the name.
It's a lot came from Eric.
That is true.
Good
It
job.
was Dan's
I'm
dad.
good with a pun.
Yeah, and we have the theater already has the file thanks to Scott. Scott did a good job getting it edited. We did a little bit of color correction. It's not it looks really good, but we're going to say it's not 100% yet because that way if there's any glitches when it plays,
there aren't any glitches.
It looks pretty damn good.
I've talked to a few people who are asking me, "Are you going?" I'm like, "Yeah." I think I was the first one to get tickets.
Yes. So it should be a lot of fun. Eric and I are going to see Donnie Iris the night before.
That's true.
Aaliyah was a very important part of the writing of the script originally.
And the Cruisers?
And the Cruisers. I mean, I have here the original script.
There's one cruiser.
That's the original, and it was called Love is Like a Rock.
Oh.
What year did you write that?
Like
47.
It says I'm 26 years old, so I was probably 25 or 24 because I'm like, well, I better make him a little older because this won't get made until I'm that age.
I give you credit for choosing that better than Do You Compute?
Yeah, or Agnes.
I don't know. I don't know. I might watch a show called Agnes.
So it went from that, and then it turned into this, which is Dan's dad, and then it turned into what it is now.
What it is.
Very cool.
Amazing. So yes,
well, I know a few people who are coming. So besides the writers,
so it's going to be quite the spectacle. That's next Sunday, but that's also when we will gather to talk about Empire Strikes Back. Shall we talk about what else people have been watching quickly? Maybe I know this show is running forever, but let's go quick. All right, what else have you been watching on TV? At the movies.
Oh, we went to see Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
So good.
It was really good.
That movie is amazing. I'm sorry. Spoilers. Unbelievably great.
Yeah,
that's not a spoiler.
Great. There's no reason this movie should be great, but it is so good.
Yeah, and I then my mom has the first one on DVD, which I hadn't seen, so I then watched that one as well, which was also very good. But the second one was better and was very good.
So good. It's so good. I can't recommend that highly enough. My son wanted me to choose that last week as my movie choice. It is so sad that I did not choose Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. But I will eventually because it is that good.
Yeah.
I posted a link in the chat. Rolling Stone ran a feature about the 50 best songs by fake artists or bands, and the number one was That Thing You Do.
Wow.
I agree with that. I'm totally down with
Spinal
that.
Tap's Big Bottom was also on the list.
Oh, jeez. Not the song, just their actual Big Bottoms.
Yes, just the actual.
It's a
But
bunch
it
of
really
pictures
was a fun
of butts.
article.
It was a really good article. Well, they wanted to spice up the article, otherwise people wouldn't.
Right, exactly, right.
They also had the one.
Extra
They also had
clickbait.
Bomb from Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Oh man, I gotta tell you, I've been listening to some of that soundtrack lately. I love it.
Let's do it on the way to work sometimes.
All right. Well, that's the law we get.
Yeah,
that's the law.
They have School of Rock from School of Rock. They had a bunch of stuff we've watched.
Yeah, but we do like a good musical here. No, well, not all of us. But some
All
of
of
us.
us, yeah. Everyone here likes.
Everyone here is down with the musicals.
It's a universal opinion.
Speaking of musicals, I will say this: next month, first week of April, my family we're going to London for the first time ever,
Oh, that's
Wow.
and I got tickets for
fantastic.
Back to the Future, the musical.
Oh no!
No way.
On London's West End. It's coming to Broadway, I guess, in the fall.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So I will be seeing Back to the Future, the musical.
Well, there is the Great British Bake Off musical now.
No
Oh,
way.
do they do Soggy
That's awesome.
Bottom, Soggy Bottom?
That's
Very
Don't
good.
you get
There's
the
the
soggy
handshake
bottom?
song. The handshake song.
Oh,
Oh.
I don't think I've watched a single episode since Mary left.
So we are, since we're talking about musicals, Disney announced that for a limited time in Disneyland, you will be able to see Rogers, the musical from the Hawkeye series. So it's an Avengers
No
musical
way.
that is spoofed in the Hawkeye's TV series that will actually be a short run happening in Disneyland this summer.
Oh, that's fun.
That's funny.
Yeah. And I so want to go. I would go just for that.
I think they're counting on it.
assuming everything works out fine, my plan. I unfortunately will not be able to watch the pilot next week. That was what, but the timing is because the timing just doesn't work out because I have a ticket to see an off-Broadway musical in New York, which is the musical that Keith of the Try Guys and his like comedy band put on called The Wizard of Friendship. I'm going to be driving to New York City on Saturday to see that on Sunday.
I think that trumps.
We'll give you, you get an excuse.
Yeah. I was like, oh man, it's the same. It's like the one. Good. But I'm sure it's going to be great. That'd be fun.
You made the right choice.
Yeah.
Jason Segel was on Conan O'Brien's podcast. They were talking about his career and forgetting Sarah Marshall and all of that. And he was talking about what was the name of the Dracula musical at the end of Forgetting
a Taste for Love?
A Taste for Love. That's it. Yes. He was saying that earlier in the pandemic when Lin-Manuel Miranda did his sort of Hamilton behind the scenes thing, he was really tempted to do a mockumentary of him taking the Dracula musical to Broadway and all of the behind the scenes.
I have considered picking Forgetting Sarah Marshall when I get chosen. I still might.
It's worth seeing.
I adore that movie.
I've never seen
it on my list.
It's one of those movies that I could watch over and over and over and not get tired of it. It's one of my favorites.
How different does the wheel look now with all of Adam's spaces?
It's true. Yeah, how many slots did he actually have at that point?
That's gonna help. He had I don't know. I've already actually deleted the list. Sorry, I'm too efficient.
How dare you?
He had like I think he had at least 1/3 of the wheel.
Yeah.
It was a lot. Yeah.
So congratulations.
To definitely in his favor for him to get chosen. So
so Hunger Games. The odds were forever in his favor.
The odds were forever in his favor.
Yeah, that'll be our next trilogy to watch is the Hunger Games.
I've
not trilogy with 4 movies. Yeah.
When I watched
we're watching Harry Potter had 7 books and 8 movies, so same deal. There's a book trilogy and a movie 4.
I really want to see the Banshees of Inisherin. The clips I've seen
heard of that one. What is
People love that movie.
What is it about? I have not heard of that one.
It's hard to explain from what I've seen, but it's basically in the most simplistic terms, it's about the breaking up of a friendship. But it's more, yeah.
It's a movie.
Yes, it's a movie. It was in theaters not that long ago.
Oh, okay, huh. Well,
I've seen it.
Very out of touch with what's in theaters.
Yeah, Colin Farrell and what's his name? I can't remember.
So in our expert timing, of course, our show next week will coincide exactly with the Oscars.
Well, maybe that's a reason not to do it on Sunday.
So you'll have your choice. Whether you want to watch the Oscars, tape the Oscars, watch our show, and then watch the Oscars with no commercials.
Yeah, there you go.
EEA. What was that acronym? EEA.
Everything, everywhere,
everything,
all
everywhere.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. That was an amazing movie. Yeah, that's fair.
And all is
I've
quiet.
not seen that yet.
Yeah, it's also. I think it's now available on streaming sites, so it's one that It's also one that I would pick for EriDan because it's also.
I know it's out in physical media. So I assume it's
yeah, I don't know if it's streaming yet, but I would hope.
The Everything All at Once one.
Yeah.
I think it is streaming. I don't remember where I saw it, but I saw it. I didn't watch it though, but it was there.
Yeah, I watched it. That was the one that I watched on an airplane from California, which is the optimal place to watch it.
That
Dude,
is
it's a small screen.
like
You're
screen
pretty
this
close to
big,
the-
perfect.
You're
Yeah.
pretty close to the screen, so it's not like functional. You can see all the details okay, and you're a pretty captive audience at that point.
Well, that's
So-
true. You weren't leaving.
And there weren't like it was a good length flight for us, so there weren't like interruptions for like we're going to land. Like it actually worked okay.
That's a good point.
I hate on the airlines. Some of the airlines, if you're watching it on the on flight, when they make an announcement, it pauses what you're watching.
Yes, that's what I was.
I was on a flight. It kept resetting.
Oh no!
It would pause and then it would go right back to the beginning. I'm like,
you were watching Tenet, which made it so much more confusing.
Yes, exactly.
Groundhog Day.
Oh, no.
See, was that like on your phone? Because mine, whenever I came home from Phoenix, I was watching Miss Congeniality on my phone, and I was coming from Chicago to here. Didn't realize that was like a 20-minute flight, but we were like descending, and I was like, I think that we're going down, and like we were on the ground, and I was like, okay, like, so I don't know. Was that like on your phone? Or
it was, but it was through Alaska Airlines. You can use their Wi-Fi and then watch things, and so they can pause it when they make an announcement, so that
I noticed
you're not distracted.
There was a flight I was on one of the connecting flights from that didn't have the in-seat screens. They assumed you had a device with you and just gave you the information to do that, which is too bad because I kind of prefer the screen because I don't have to try to set up a tablet on a
Alaska
table.
has no screens.
It's much nicer to just have the screen, but it's cheaper for them to assume you have a screen of your own. But not having to set up my tablet on the tray table and hope it stays stable.
And if you have T-Mobile on Alaska, you get free Wi-Fi. And you can
that's true. They had a little thing that you would put a thing that a phone stand that folded down, so you could put your device in there to watch it, which is, I guess, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, you have 3 weeks to watch episodes of Fringe, because in then 3 weeks.
And Adam and I will put together a list, but definitely the pilot, without a doubt, is you have to start there because that's true of every show.
It's a good place to start.
The problem is it's a serial. I mean, there are a few standalone episodes that are really good. There's a really good time travel episode. I'll put that one on there. Yeah.
But ultimately, if you're best off to start at the beginning and see how far you can get.
Yeah, really, because the show is amazing. The characters are great. The characters, the relationships.
The pilot was okay. I will say the pilot was okay, but I'm hoping it gets better.
Wade's all alone. Everybody's coughing.
Oh no!
Wow, look at that outbreak at the Raiders. Look out!
All right,
somebody opened the ark at the Raiders.
Choked up for some reason. So.
Yeah, before the special effects started, that's what it looked like.
All right, so you all have your marching orders. Yeah. So Empire Strikes Back. We will talk more Star Wars next week. So, get your tauntaun blankets ready. Whatever it takes.
And record the Oscars.
That's right. Exactly. All right. We will see you back here for more fun times. Everybody have a great week. Thanks, everybody. See ya! Good night.
In case I don't see ya, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.